Obviously, it's the middle of the evening on a Saturday night, August 17th, 2024. I'm just lying here on my bed trying to relax and watch a few TV shows and movies quietly on my smartphones because I do not own a TV. And even if I did, I wouldn't be able to see the screen because I'm legally blind. But starting approximately an hour and a half ago, there was a sudden burst of really disruptive, aggressive, psychotic behavior, not just from the psycho scum piece of filth directly below me in 76, but also from a bunch of screaming, shouting, lowlife nut jobs out on the street below my windows. And these pieces of shit who have no lives and spend their entire wasted existences hanging on to what happens in other people's lives are the ones who tell me how the court decides on my cases before the court's decision is even made public. That happened yesterday morning with a bunch of screaming, shouting psycho scum on the sidewalk below my windows starting at 7:30 in the morning. And they kept shouting the same stuff that they usually do, which is crazy bitch this, crazy bitch that, the judge said no, bitch is out of here, etc. And they were doing this throughout the entire morning yesterday. I made a video about it, that there was a bunch of psycho scum, rejected ass wipes screaming and shouting on the corner directly below my windows. It's actually not a corner, it's more like a sidewalk, for 3.5 hours between 7:30, 8 a.m. and around noon, 12:30. That's like 4 hours because they're a bunch of rejected ass wipes with nothing else to do. However, I've learned that they seem to have knowledge of decisions made by the housing court and other courts regarding my cases, even before those cases are sent to me in terms of notifications of the court's decision. That happened yesterday. The psycho creeps out on the street were repeatedly shouting things like, the judge said no, and bitches out of here, and evicted, and things like that. Why would they be screaming that in the middle of a Friday morning? Well, I'll tell you why, because they actually had some very accurate, scary accurate knowledge of what the court had just decided about my case. What I kept thinking was that this was related to the housing court, but it was actually related to the appeals court. And sure enough, at 4:30 yesterday afternoon, I received an email from the appeals court praising the lower court's decision in denying my appeal for summary judgment. For use and occupancy, not summary judgment. How do these lowlife scumbag ghetto trash pieces of hate stalking filth know what the court decides regarding my legal cases even before the court sends me the official notification of their decision? Well, I'll tell you why. Because these are a bunch of lowlife scum, ghetto trash, BLM, quote, activists that really have nothing to do with helping Black people. What they do is engage in career crime that they claim is activism when it's not. It's just career crime. It's just psychotic, mentally disturbed hate stalking and aggression and harassment. And I see it every day by these lowlife asswipes standing on the sidewalk underneath my windows, screaming filth at me that they should have no knowledge of. And therefore, there is corruption in the Boston justice system, blatant corruption, because when the BLM lowlife filth who spend their entire wasted lives screaming and shouting out on the street corners outside of this building and on the sidewalks across from my windows, telling me things that they should have no knowledge of regarding court decisions of my cases, then they are doxing the court and the justice system's corruption when it comes to BLM. Completely corrupt, right? Well, the same thing happened again this evening. And for the last hour and a half now, it seems to have calmed down. There was a lot of screaming and shouting from lowlife scum across the street, once again, screaming stuff about the court's decision regarding my case. But now they seem to be shouting and screaming about the housing court's decision regarding my motion for summary judgment in this case. This is really sad, right? It's sad for multiple reasons. It's sad because the justice system in the Boston courts is clearly completely subverted in favor of low-life activist scum like the BLM criminal career thugs that populate this entire building complex and have for years. These are rejected low-life asswipes that do nothing to help Black people. What they do is they spend their wasted, rejected asswipe lives haystalking people of other skin colors, and that does not elevate anybody. They're also doxing their own criminal behavior and their own corruption by shouting stuff about court cases they should have no knowledge of. This is a Saturday night. The courts are closed. The courts closed yesterday at 5 p.m., if not 4:30. And these low-life ghetto trash, filth, asswipe, BLM, career criminal thugs should have no knowledge of the court's decisions on a Saturday night, but they do, because not only is BLM corrupt, but so are the courts and the judiciary that BLM either influences or somehow threatens or bribes or does other corrupt things to in order to get this judiciary and the justice system to subvert the existing laws of the land, meaning state laws, and also, in federal cases, federal laws. My housing case is not a federal case, therefore it is only subject to Massachusetts state law. But when I filed this motion for summary judgment, I filed it because I knew, and it is very clear, that the existing state laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts very strongly support summary judgment in this case. Summary judgment is applicable when the issues at hand in the case are a matter of law, meaning they are covered by very clear and distinct existing laws that cause those issues to be illegal. One of those illegal things is for a landlord to file a fraudulent, baseless, retaliatory claim against a tenant. The Greenville Group have done that not just in this case, but in 3 other prior cases, all of which have been dismissed. Oh yeah, so now they're screaming and shouting again outside. Right, so these low-life asswipe BLM career thug criminals always know about the court's decisions regarding my case before the court officially issues that decision, and usually on Saturdays when they're screaming and shouting below my windows for hours. My motion for summary judgment is very strongly supported by the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and by multiple existing legal precedents, meaning prior case laws, where similar judgments in similar cases have been granted based on the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So right now, I have just found out from the screaming, shouting, low-life asswipe, BLM ghetto filth out on the street below my windows that the judge in my housing case has just denied my motion for summary judgment. I have not yet gotten an official notification from the housing court about this, and I don't need to, because I've just been shouted at for the last hour and a half from filth out on the sidewalk that once again, judge said, no, bitch is evicted, bitch is out of here. So that is referring to my motion for summary judgment, because yesterday they were screaming and shouting about another case that I thought was the housing case, but was actually my appeal with the appeals court. They get so excited and so worked up and so gleeful that it's kind of sad to see, because their stupidity is embarrassing to anyone who isn't as stupid as they are, and they're really stupid. So is the judiciary, by the way, because the judiciary, in ignoring multiple existing legal cases that support summary judgment in this case, and by completely ignoring the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in granting summary judgment in this case or denying summary judgment, are doxing their own corruption and their own basically incompetence in being judges. The judge's job is not to be an activist and to make activist decisions, meaning prejudicial, baseless decisions based on the judge's own personal preference and biases. It is to follow the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And the judge in my housing case has completely failed to do this, obviously, and so has the appeals court. So this is sad because these low-life idiots out on the street stupidly think that these decisions stand, and they don't. All I need to do is file appeal after appeal after appeal until I get to a court where the judges are not corrupt, incompetent, and doxing their own inefficiency and lack of qualification as judges. Eventually, there will be a court that will hear my case, that will not be corrupt or prejudiced, and that will not be easily bought off by the BLM psycho scum, asswipe, ghetto filth that keeps corrupting my legal cases by somehow influencing the judges in those cases. All I need to do is file another appeal, you stupid pieces of rejected scum, and I will. So you lost, not me, because the lower court and the local appeals court are superseded by other courts above them, and you can keep going up the court chain until you get to the Supreme Court. Really, the only time when you have ever lost a legal case is if the Supreme Court refuses to hear your case, or then hears your case but then denies it. Then you don't have an appeal, right? That's as high as you can go. So they're like around the corner now. They're not directly across from my windows. They like to stand right there. And over the last hour and a half, there's been a lot of screaming and shouting from right there. But now they're like on that other side. Maybe other people complained. I don't know. There was a lot of screaming and shouting and loud bitches out of here comments. And judge said no, bitch comments. This was happening last Saturday as well, as I made a video about it. The other sad thing is that the psycho scum, violent asswipe piece of filth directly below in 76 has been making nonstop slamming and banging noises directly beneath my bed for the last hour and a half. How does that piece of shit know anything about my court cases? Well, I'll tell you why, because he's a BLM asswipe. That's why. And no, I'm not being racist. BLM has nothing to do with helping Black people. All they do is act like criminals and then ask for donation money to act like criminals. I am a strong supporter of other Black movements, such as the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I strongly support the NAACP, but not BLM, because BLM are basically just a bunch of asswipe career thugs that get paid to act like career criminals and do nothing but hate stalk people who are not of their own race or ethnicity. Really, the true racists are BLM, because they actually go out and try to corrupt the justice system to act against people that BLM doesn't like. And that's exactly what's been happening, obviously. I should never have to know from the BLM asswipes screaming out on the sidewalk below my windows what a judge's decision is, even before the judge issues that decision. But I do. And that just happened tonight, and it happened yesterday afternoon, right before the appeals court sent me an email saying they had denied my appeal, not because of the existing laws, but because they said the judge in that case had made a very carefully crafted decision. No, he didn't. He completely ignored existing laws. And that's why I'm going to continue to appeal. And you just lost because you're too stupid to realize that any judicial decision that is not based upon existing laws and prior legal precedents does not stand and cannot stand according to state and federal laws and legal guidelines and legal statutes. So you just lost, bitch, not me.